I have so many conversations with myself that I don't usually feel confident having in social setups. But I am pretty sure I am not alone. Join me on this podcast as I have these conversations unapologetically loud. My name is June Robinson, and welcome to another episode of Cut the Monologue. This will probably be the second last episode for this year before I close it down and start planning for the new year. I actually have amazing plans. I am really looking forward to next year, especially with this podcast. Like, so much has happened this year that messed up with my funk. And, we all know once your funk is messed up, trying to get back to the best funk or trying to get yourself back on the rhythm of the funk that you had planned becomes like a big challenge. And in all honesty, I wasn't like really pressuring myself to get back on my funk. I was just like, I'm just going to like embrace this chaos and live in this chaos. And, when time comes, I will unchaos the chaos, if that makes sense, or if it actually is an English word. So, welcome to our second last episode. And can you believe that the year is coming to an end? Like, it's December. Like, I don't even believe it's December, in all honesty. I'm like, what? 2023 is ending? No way. But with every end of the year comes with it this intense pressure of where am I? What did and did not work. I'm almost hitting my 30s. I am almost hitting my 40s. I'm almost hitting my 50s. If I have 50-year-old listeners or people who are stepping into that zone, I'm almost hitting 25. And it comes with it with this pressure. And majority of the time, when you sit down and you actually take a beat and you're asking yourself, why am I pressuring myself based on my age? You realize that majority of it came from the society. And in this episode, we are all about breaking these stereotypes and having these hard conversations, these uncomfortable conversations that we have within ourselves, and we really are afraid of speaking them out loud. So welcome to this week's episode, or should I say to this latest episode. And this episode, we're going to be focusing on breaking the myth of the 30-year deadline, living your life authentically in your own timeline. And this came to me about, I think I planned for this podcast, for this episode about 3 weeks ago, if I'm not wrong. Yes, I did the podcast plan and my research and just taking my survey among some of my friends and just asking them about this. And there is this unnecessary pressure of having had to figure your life by 30, it could be figuring out your finances, figuring out your career, figuring out what path your life wants to take by the age of 30. And it's like the societal pressure that is exerted on us, okay? And this is the influence and the expectations exerted by society on us as individuals to conform to the established norms and the milestones. And this is what I've said, things like your education, you should probably have your master's or your degree by the time you're 30. Your job should be secure. Your financial income should be stable by the time you're 30. You should know that every end of the month you're getting like 50,000 shillings, like by default, or getting married, buying a home, starting a family, that you should have already found that it's the one partner by the time you're 30. And these pressures, majority of the time, are attributed to a lot of our cultural, societal, and sometimes, at times, economical factors. So the social norms and expectations, they create this unnecessary sense of urgency. for us to feel like, oh my God, we need to do this. I need to have this figured out. And this results in stress, anxiety, and a fear of falling behind or not living up to societal standards. You end up being 29, 28, 27, and those are our late 20s. You end up being in those years and you're just like, I am definitely not going to make it by 30. And this is what leads to the mid 20s crisis. And I did an episode on our mid 20s crisis and just some of the factors that contribute to us being in our mid 20s crisis. And if you did not listen to that episode, I want to give myself a solo shout out. Go and listen to the episode. It's actually one of my most listened episode, and the comments that I got from the episode were just so heartwarming and so truthful. And if you haven't listened to that episode, go and listen to it. But this pressure of you should be, you should have, you must by the age of 30, it's ridiculous. It's 100% ridiculous. And funny thing is, when I was in my early 20s and, in my teen years, I used to think that, you know what, 30 is so far away. By the time I'll be in my 30s, I will most definitely have had all this figured out. But here I am in my late 20s, and you sit down and you look at this. First of all, career path is completely different from what I thought I'd be doing when I was in my teen, because when I was in my teens, I knew I was going to be a pediatrician. When I was in my 20s, I knew I was going to be a community change agent. But then here I am in my 20s, in my mid and late 20s, I am a salesperson, and I'm still thinking of how I can grow in my career. I still haven't figured it out. I know I want to grow in sales, but that's not meaning that if something else in a different career path that's more lucrative doesn't show up, that I'm not going to jump on it. I am, most definitely I will. And we have people even in their 40s and their 50s who are still doing this. There is no formula to life. You wake up every day and you have a blank canvas and you need to paint this canvas. So when this pressure of you must figure things out by the time you're 30 comes along, then you're just like, okay, so that means that my life has already been painted out for me. So it's simply a walk in the park and I will get to the end of the park. And that's not the case. So this stress of having to be figured out by 30, it comes with it a lot of stress. The first type of stress is the financial stress, where as individuals, we feel the pressure to establish a stable career, buy a home, and save for future by a certain age. And this will definitely lead to financial stress, especially if the economic conditions or personal circumstances made these goals challenging to achieve within the set frame. Like I said, for instance, when because for most of these episodes, I like to make them as personal as I possibly can. When we were closing down the year 2022 and we were coming over to 2023, I am this person who creates vision boards, and I like to write down my plans for the year and just tick them off. Not necessarily under pressure, like giving myself pressure, but just to make myself good about achieving certain milestones in my life. And within the first 4 months of the year, life happened and I could no longer focus on achieving these things that I had set for myself for the year. And now I had to focus on surviving the year and making sure that I don't crumble due to the emotional stress. And I will talk about this in the next episode. Yes, the next episode I'll talk about this. And a majority of the things that I had set to do, I was not able to do it. So these are some of the economic conditions or personal circumstances. You may set to tell yourself that I want to start this daily saving challenge, where you save 1 shilling 1st of January, 2 shillings 2nd of January, 3, and it just goes on increasing by a shilling as the days goes by. And you lose your job. And now you're not in a position where you can able to save this money as you had anticipated or as you had thought it out. Then what next? Yeah, what next? So it gives us a lot of pressure that can lead to financial stress, because certain things happen that move us out of our plan, and it may take us months, even like so many time, a lot of time, before we actually are able to jumpstart ourselves back to, the path that we expected ourselves to be. Another thing is career anxiety, especially in our country. We have a lot of youth unemployment. I can tell you for a fact, I have colleagues, I have not colleagues, I have friends who I was with in campus who till today they haven't gotten a job. They're just out here doing 1 to 3 hustles. Today they may be selling clothes, tomorrow they might be brokering phones, the next day they just do anything that is able to bring money to their pockets, and that they can use this money to survive, that they can use this money to live their lives. So it brings about a lot of career anxiety where you're like, I am almost 30 and I'm still jumping through different um types of expertise. Today I am a salesperson, tomorrow I'm a community change agent, the other day I'm going to be a consultant, because the society dictates that by 30 your career should be stable, but that's not the reality on the ground. So you end up feeling pressure, and this may lead you to making wrong decisions in the name of I need to be stabilized. Okay? It also leads to relationship strain. The expectation to be in a committed relationship or married by a certain age may strain personal relationships. Individuals might feel compelled to settle down quickly, potentially impacting the quality and authenticity of their relationships. This is 100% relatable to, I think, all of us who are listening to this. And that pressure not only comes from your friends or your peers, it also comes from your family, where they're like, you're almost getting 30, your years are really moving so fast, you need to be in a stable relationship, you need to even have one child, you need to have a partner who you've introduced to your parents, and you need to be stable in this. You need to already identify who your five um friends who would go through the fire and the water and the ice with you. You need to have that. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. At that, it means you should already have known who you are. And we keep changing. Changing is inevitable. Whatever made you happy like 5 months ago probably annoys you to the core right now. And you're asking yourself, how is it that I found this exciting? How is it that I was able to live like this? And at times, this relationship strain leads us to losing meaningful relationship. You end up dropping people because they maybe did something wrong to you once, and you don't want to accord them the grace of giving them a second chance. You're out here looking for red flags in relationships instead of cultivating these relationships and building them and understanding how this relationship makes you feel, if it's something that you want to continue with it further, or if it's something that you don't want to have anything to do with. So this I need to be figured out by 30. It leads to a lot of us having families, starting families with people who we barely even know, all in the name of by 30 you should be in a stable relationship, by 30 you should be in a family, by 30 you should have a kid. And it's ridiculous. It's extremely ridiculous. And we need to move past that. Family planning pressure. Society often dictates that individuals should start a family in their 20s or early 30s, especially among women. And it's like, oh, you should give birth when you're young. You should give birth when you're young so that you don't have to raise kids when you're old and all that. And it's like, first of all, we have come a long way in the medical industry. And yes, there still exists certain um complications that do exist with starting a family at a mature age, but we cannot compare where we are with medicine with where we were like 50 years ago. We cannot compare. Okay, we are in an age where you don't have to have kids in your 20s, you don't have to have kids when you're 23, you don't have to have kids when you're 27, all in the name of I need to have kids early so that I don't raise kids when I'm old. What? Who even came up with that? This is what makes a lot of people be in relationships that do not make sense. You're with your partner and you're completely not compatible. Society sees it, you see it, but because there's the pressure of being in a family, you stick through that, living your entire life miserable. And one thing for sure, you should not be miserable. You should never ever be miserable in the name of society. Mm? Emotional well being, which is the constant comparison to societal benchmarks, can contribute to feeling of inadequacies, anxiety, and low self esteem. The fear of not meeting expectations may lead to a sense of failure and negative impact. Overall emotional well being. Delayed personal development. The focus on external milestones might divert attention from personal growth and self discovery. Individuals may neglect their own aspirations and passions in the pursuit of societal benchmarks. And this is what modern day term it as understanding who you are and breaking those generational curses. Once you start living based on what society expects of you, or you start living based on what society demands of you, then you don't end up living for who you are, you end up living for what society dictates. Why are you married? Why are you married? Age was catching up, and I needed to have that feeling of stability, so I got married. Meaning you didn't get married because you wanted to. You didn't get married because you felt like, I need to be stable with this person. Oh, why did you pick this career? Age was catching up and I needed something stable. I needed my life to feel stable. So I stuck with the career. So you didn't choose the career because you enjoy doing it. You didn't choose the career because you see yourself growing from it. You do it like nothing else motivated you to choosing that career apart from the fact that age was catching up and you needed to stabilize. These are some of the things. So it delays your personal development. You're not able to know who you are. Why do you go to church? Oh, my parents used to go to church. I was raised within this denomination. So you didn't take your time to personally grow and develop your own spirituality, your own spiritual connection to God. You're simply doing it because the people before you did it and the people around you are expecting you to have done it. Do you see? And this is why we say it's delayed personal development. And it also most definitely has an impact on our mental health. So now we want to look at the historical and cultural origins of the 30-year deadline concept and how the societal norms and cultural narratives have shaped this expectation. So first thing is the concept of the 30-year deadline and the societal expectations associated with achieving specific milestones by a certain age. They have a lot of historical and cultural roots that vary across societies. We all have this thing that whereby to men it's by this age you should have moved out of your parents' house and set up your own home, your own house, somewhere in the compound. As a man, you should have a wife and provide for them and create this family. As a woman, by this age, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 to 10 figured out and all of this. And just looking at some of the historical economic factors, in many traditional societies, economic stability and securing were closely tied to milestones such as marriage and home ownership, which is the example I've just given. Young adults were expected, and this is both men and women, were expected to establish themselves in these ways to ensure financial well being and contribute to the stability of the community. We have life expectancies and health concerns. In earlier periods of history, life expectancy was shorter and the onset of health issues tended to occur earlier in life. So this might have contributed to societal norms emphasizing the need for individuals to achieve certain life milestones, including starting a family at a younger age. And this is what I've told you. The medical industry or the medicine industry, however you want to term it, has come a long way. It's not where it used to be like 50, 70 years ago. A lot has changed. There has been a lot of medical discoveries, a lot of technologies that have come about that have made it easier for us to ease on that pressure of having this done by 30, but for some reason it still exists. And this is because we have these roots that were deeply entrenched from years ago that still are flourishing till today. And it's time to break those rules. We need to live our life authentically. Cultural and religious influence. Cultural and religious beliefs have played a significant role in shaping societal expectations, especially when it's because we like saying that as Africans, we have a lot of, cultural beliefs and traditional beliefs and religious beliefs. And it could stem from the fact that culturally we are more seasoned. Okay, so cultural narratives around family, societal roles, and the importance of generational continuity have contributed to the establishment of age specific milestones. And this is basically true because people still ask when you're striving maybe to develop yourself career wise, and they ask you, but you have no child. So even if you build this legacy, who are you going to leave it for? There is that need that has been enrooted into us that you need to have a legacy behind to continue with your lineage, to continue with whatever it is that you're trying to build. Gender roles and expectation. Traditional gender roles often prescribed specific timelines for various life events with societal norms. This dictated when individuals, both men and women, should marry and start a family. And these expectations were deeply ingrained in cultural narratives and reinforced through social institutions. And we have institutions like the church and how they're still perpetuating this narrative that as a man and a woman, you should be married by this age and you should have a children. And as a woman, should be your role. And as a man, this should be your role. So these are some of the social institutions that still perpetuate these life pressures that have been existing. Okay. And media and pop culture, like how has the media influenced this? How has the media continued to perpetuate this? And this is something that I have seen, especially when I'm watching YouTube videos, because I see a lot of vlogs, and I mainly like seeing vlogs for people that I can relate to, people who are my age, people who are maybe going through the same path that I am. And whenever, for those of us who are regular on YouTube, at times we see these videos that are like, how I was able to buy a car at 25 years old. Oh, my first home at 30. My first trip at 29. In all honesty, I do not watch those videos. I'm not gonna lie. The moment I see you attaching your age to a milestone that you have achieved, I don't watch it. That's just me. Maybe I will get hate from saying this, but that's just me. I don't understand why your age is relevant to your achievement. Why is your age relevant to your achievement? How is it relevant? This to me is you trying to perpetuate these age myths that are still there. Because why is you being able to buy yourself a car a big deal because of your age? Okay, you're 25 and you've bought yourself your first car. And so what? How is being 25 and able to purchase your first car like a big deal? How is you being 21 and having your first house, your own home, like a big deal? Like, you should be like, you owning a home, that should be enough. You own a home, that is amazing. Adding the 21 to me is unnecessary. It's still going through this, what the media is feeding us, so I don't watch it for my own personal, and it may come off as bitter, it may come off as judgy, but I don't. Once you attach your age to whatever it is that you're doing, there, I'm not watching your video, I'm not watching that video. And if I was watching any of your other videos, I stop watching. Social comparison and conformity. Human tendency towards social comparison and a desire of conformity have fueled the perpetuation of societal expectation. The fear of falling behind or being judged by peers can drive individuals to conform to established timelines. And this is why I have given that example of, bought my first car at 21. So now you're making this individual compare themselves to, okay, this YouTuber that I am watching, or this person that I'm following on social media, has bought their car at 21. What was I doing at 21? And maybe owning a car has been your lifelong desire. And now you're just like, you start having this pressure of, there are other people who are doing it. Why am I not doing it? It's unnecessary. It is unnecessary. Extremely, extremely unnecessary. And I do not succumb to it. I refuse to succumb to it. So, after understanding all of this, after understanding how there are different plays that continue to feed into this age factor and what we should achieve by the age of 30, how do we debunk this myth? How do we move forward, start living our lives authentically within our own timelines? I usually see this meme, I don't know if it's true, that KFC, the owner of KFC, started KFC when they were 65, you know? And do you think if this person succumbed to the pressure of having everything figured out by 30, if he would have started this enterprise when he was 65? My personal guess is maybe not, because probably if he succumbed to this pressure, he would have looked at a different path to follow in life and not making fried chicken that we all love in this day and age. So the unrealistic nature of age-based deadlines become apparent when we consider the diversity of individual journeys and the complex factors that influence life trajectory. So the first thing is the diverse paths and goals. As individuals, we all have unique aspirations, goals, and life paths. Attempting to fit yourself into everyone's standardized timeline, it makes you neglect the diversity of your personal dreams and your personal pursuits. And these personal pursuits could be education, career, relationship, or personal development. So it makes you abandon your own uniqueness in order for you to fit in to what society expects. And this is what leads to people waking up in their 50s or in their 60s or in their 70s and realizing that they did not live the life that they wanted, but they lived the life that was expected of them. Changing societal dynamics. Societal expectations and norms, they evolve over time. What might have been considered standard or ideal in one era may not align with the values and dynamics of contemporary society. So a rigid adherence to outdated benchmarks can be counterproductive and fail to reflect current realities. And this is what I've said. As human beings, we change. Change is inevitable. Whatever you liked 5 months ago, whatever you enjoyed doing 5 months ago, when you wake up right now, you're probably going to ask yourself, what was I thinking? Why did I find that interesting? What was driving me towards that? And the problem with this age by 30 is that it is so rigid. Your career should be figured out. You should be in a stable relationship. You should have started a family. You should have a home. You should be all this. It does not understand the fact that there's so many cultural variations. We have people who come from the upper end of life, and these are the people who, come from wealthy families, and they have so many advantages on their side. They may have the luxury to achieve all this by 30. But what about this other person who maybe comes from a broken family, or the parents are not in the stable financial grounds? What about this person who is facing black tax? What about them? Do they also have to be there by 30? What about them? Economic and social factors and personal readiness. Individuals mature at different rates and reach stages of readiness for various life expectations at different times. Pressuring someone to commit to a major life decision before they're emotionally or mentally prepared can lead to dissatisfaction and strained relationships. And I think the best example for this is becoming a parent. If you are not ready, because I think so many people just think parenting is giving birth and there's so many aspects that contribute to being a parent. You are now responsible for someone, a human being, 100%. You're responsible for their well-being, what they eat, their health, where they sleep, what they wear. You're responsible for that. At the same time, you're responsible for yourself. What your personal goals, your mental health, you're responsible for this. And you need to be ready. You need to become a parent when you want to become a parent. You don't need to become a parent when society tells you to become a parent. So, and this comes at various ages, especially in a friend group. Because for me, like, even when you're looking at your friends back from high school, and I believe that Facebook is the best time capsule to ever exist. When you look at your friends who you maybe went to study with in high school, they probably already have families and all that, but you don't. And it's not an indication for you to pressure yourself into being ready to have families. It's an indication for you to understand that we have different levels of maturity. Your maturity tells you that you can be able to be a parent. Mine has not yet gotten there, and it is okay. It is okay. That's the one thing you need to remind yourself. It is okay. It's going to happen when it's meant to happen. And so, how do we live authentically in this society filled with expectations, in this society that is so imperfect but still insists on perfectionism by the time we're 30? Reflect on your personal values. Take time for your self-reflection to identify your core values. What are the things that mean value to you? What are your beliefs? What are your personal aspirations? When you understand what truly matters to you, you provide a foundation for making decisions that are aligned with your authentic self. Challenge societal assumptions. Question societal assumptions and expectation about timelines for education, career, relationships, and other life milestones. You need to be able to ask yourself these questions. Only then can you be able to recognize that everyone's journey is unique and there is no one size fits all approach to living a fulfilling life. Like I said, there is no formula, there's no blueprint to how life should be lived. And once you're able to challenge these expectations that were set by the society, you will be able to understand that these pressures, they were brought about by people who insist on everyone to live this life as they want it, as if it's a one size fits all, when it cannot. Set your personal goals. Set your own goals. What do you want to achieve? When do you want to achieve it? Not what does society want me to achieve and when does society want me to achieve. Set your own personal goals. Create a personal timeline. Create a timeline that aligns with your goals and priorities. A timeline that considers your pace rather than adhering to external expectations. And this timeline can serve as flexible as it possibly can. Always practice mindfulness. Cultivate mindfulness to stay present and connected with your authentic self. Embrace lifelong learning. Life is a journey, and at each stage there's a lesson to be learned, or there's a lesson that has been learned. So you need to embrace that. Surround yourself with supportive influences. Like I've said, for me, once I see, because I love watching YouTube videos, once I see an age has been attached to the video, I immediately stop watching it. So that's my own way of surrounding myself with supportive influences. I don't want to feel that pressure that I should have done this by this age. Set boundaries. Establish clear boundaries to protect your time, energy, and well-being. And I have also done an episode on this, on guarding your energy and setting your boundaries. Set boundaries to protect yourself, to protect your energy. Anybody who is coming to you with, oh, you should be this, you should be that, immediately be clear with them and tell them no. Be clear with them, let them know that is a boundary they should not close, that is a boundary they should not cross. You know what you're doing, you have your own goals, you have your own this, and no one should be able to deter you from that. Celebrate small wins. Any achievement that you have, celebrate it. Take a picture, mount it on your fridge. Celebrate every small win. Cultivate self-compassion, and that is being kind to yourself and recognizing that it's okay to not have everything figured out. And that's why I tell you, I had a clear plan of how I wanted this podcast to be this year, but things just happened. And I decided that I will not pressure myself to getting on track. I will get on track when I get on track, and that is okay. So practice self-compassion. Understand that you are a human being and you're bound to go through challenges. And some of these challenges, it's okay if you take time to address them. It is okay. Seek professional guidance and also connect with like-minded individuals. Practice gratitude, embrace change and flexibility, and also take small steps. Take small steps. Break down your goals. Break them down. Find a way of tackling each and every one of them, and live your life authentically. And with that, I would like to come to the end of this episode, and I want to leave you with a really, really nice quote that I came across as I was preparing for this episode. And it's, remember, your life is a canvas painted with your unique colors. Live it boldly, authentically, and your own terms, not bound by societal expectation. Always remember that it's your life to live. It's not their life to live. It's for you to enjoy. It's not for them to see how it goes, or for them to see how you're ticking the boxes that they have set. So live your life authentically. Enjoy it. Don't succumb to societal pressures. I want to apologize for the birds that were just quacking or whatever it is that they were doing. And with that, I want to thank you so much. I intended for this to be 30 minutes, but it's 42 minutes. Listen to the end. It's really, really amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the 18th. I will be dropping another episode, the end episode on the 18th, and then I plan for my next year. Goodbye. That's it for this episode of Cut the Monologue. Be sure to follow us on our social media platforms at Cut the Monologue. That is Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And also follow us on all streaming platforms and turn your notifications on to always get notified whenever we drop an episode. Until the next episode, goodbye for now.